September 9th. Happy birthday, Wilson Brown. It's a great day. Brendan Martin in Ocala with the yellow cup. I like that. It's bright yellow. Sunshine. Hey, Rob Browne in Memphis. Lot to cover today. The best 60 minutes on the SEC you'll find anywhere. We got a great lineup. We're going to start with Jordan Davis Hill, 24/7 Sports. Covers Georgia over in the Classic City. Jacques Doucet checks in from Baton Rouge, WAFB Channel 9, covering LSU. Yancy Porter, Oxford on Ole Miss, Rebel Yell Hotline, and Rodney Orr in Tuscaloosa, Tider Insider. So take a picture with your cell phone or the QR code. We are live on 8 different channels, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Be a subscriber like Price Morrison, Touchdown Club last night. Going to start watching the show. A lot of you watching it. We're blessed in more ways than we can count. And we also have the best executive producer that makes this stuff happen. So let's get started with Jordan Davis Hill. A little game this weekend. First couple of games, Georgia has been working on making Georgia better. A lot of people in my hunting club, Tennessee. We got several Georgia fans. And Mark Ham, the biggest Tennessee fan I know, has a daughter, Molly, who's a rising senior at Georgia, and all her friends are coming home to Knoxville. What a weekend it's going to be up on the hill. Tell us about it. And first off, thanks a million for coming on with us. We love it.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on. No, this is, I think, the first big test for both of these teams. You look at Georgia, made quick work of Marshall in week 1, and then, kind of a lackluster showing in week 2 against Austin Peay. The weather kind of complicated things. They moved up kickoff time, and second half wound up being delayed by about 2 hours. But then, on the other side, Tennessee takes care of Syracuse. Definitely the toughest of the opponents that either of these teams have played, but I don't know that that's a very good Syracuse team. And then they go and hang 72 on ETSU. So this is the test. This is going to test both of these teams. I think whoever wins this game, I think, should feel pretty good about their standing when it comes to this SEC race. And it's still early, and there's still a lot of twists and turns that are going to play out. But I think this is a marquee game really in the entire season. With what Tennessee's done to this point, I think it's a proving ground for both of these teams.
Well, in your family household, this is the rivalry, is what you said, because you're from more North Georgia. So the Tennessee's a big one. Is it 8 in a row Georgia's won?
I'd have to sit and think about it. 16 is the last time that Tennessee won.
Yeah.
And that was the Dobnell boot. That was Josh Dobbs and Jawan Jennings. And from the Georgia side, obviously, who wins and loses the game is what matters. But that erased a fantastic touchdown throw from Jacob Eason. I'm trying to remember to Riley Ridley. That gave them the lead. It was the throw for me of Jacob Eason's freshman year that made you go, okay, this guy might have something. And then literally like 3 plays later, Josh Dobbs does that, and nobody remembers that play anymore.
Yeah, big 5-star from Walla Walla, Washington came in. Just unbelievable. That ending was insane. All right, so break it down. Who's got the advantage on the line of scrimmage, offense, defensive lines?
To me, if Georgia's going to win this game, they have got to win the battle between the offensive line and Tennessee's defensive line. And that's the question for me going in. The 2 big questions for Georgia is, can Gunnar Stockton play well on the road? This will be his first career road start. But how will this offensive line hold up? They had to go without their starting right guard, Juan Gaston, and the starting right tackle, Ernest Green, against Austin Peay. I think that, for the most part, was probably precautionary getting ready for this game. But we're going to know later in the week if those guys are going to be available or not. So, to me, that offensive line struggled against Austin Peay. And I don't know if I'd say struggle, but they did not dominate the way they should against an FCS opponent. That right side of the line, well, those 2 starters really struggled. They wound up kind of playing musical chairs as that game went on. And then they found some guys, if Ernest Green and if Juan Gaston can't play, that would be the favorites to start in their place. But you look at the Tennessee defensive line, they've had a lot of success getting to the quarterback early in the year. The point I always bring up when Georgia plays Tennessee, Rodney Garner, defensive line coach. Yep. Rob, you know him well. He coached at Georgia for a long time. He coached at Auburn for a long time. This is his second stint at Tennessee. And, he knows how to find talented defensive linemen. He's going to get the most out of that line. To me, it's the Georgia offensive line. If they struggle, if they cannot protect Gunner, and probably more importantly, if they can't run block. I feel like to the biggest positives from Georgia early in the year, one of the big ones is they've run the ball really well, again, against inferior competition.
Yeah.
So can they do that on the road? Can they open up those holes? If they struggle there, I don't think Georgia leaves Knoxville with a win.
All right. So it's been since 2019 that Georgia's had a 1,000-yard rusher. How deep is the running back room? And again, consider the competition.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now they probably got about 4 guys that they feel like, especially like in this Tennessee game, that they could rely on and get meaningful carries. Nate Frazier's still your top back. He fumbled early in that Austin Peay game. That's really the biggest setback with him, is that he's had fumble issues in his year plus at Georgia. Chauncey Bowens had a really good game against Austin Peay. The revelation of 2 games has been Dwight Phillips Jr. He is a sophomore, a guy that his dad was an Olympian back, I think that was 2004, and he's got the track speed just like his dad. Maybe not quite as fast as his dad, but he's definitely very fast, and he's shown he's a capable back. He's wearing number 20. He's got me thinking of Thomas Brown out there for Georgia, and he looks the part. He's got great vision. I've been impressed with what he's shown. Behind that, Cass Jones is still your third down back. I think you're going to see him a lot on third down, especially in passing situations. And then the guys behind them are still guys that I don't think we're going to see on Saturday, guys that still have to prove that they can go out there and play winning football in the SEC. Bo Walker, true freshman, didn't really get to see him much in that Austin Peay game. Josh McCray, the Illinois transfer, I still think he's got a ways to go. And then Roderick Robinson, I just don't see him part of this rotation. They probably got 4 backs right now that I think we'll see quite a bit on Tennessee, against Tennessee. I think that they're in good shape with those guys, but they need to rely on those guys. I think you'll see a healthy mix of those guys over the course of that game.
And what we've seen so far with Georgia, it's the same thing. They play the full 60. And I love what I saw from Matt Rule. It's all over social media on Twix. Kirby Smart does that. And I cannot say it enough. I mean, listening to Mac Brown talk at the Touchdown Club last night, it's about the games. There's too many people talking about all this other stuff, blocking, tackling, physical defense. That's the hallmark of Georgia. And I think they're licking their chops to get to this game. And I'm hearing it from Tennessee because I got a wife that's a Vol. What do you think happens in this game in a hostile environment? And how good do you think Aguilar is?
I think it's going to be a pretty low-scoring game. It definitely needs to be if Georgia's going to have a chance to win. I think if it gets into the 30s, it's not a good formula for Georgia to come out of there with a win. But on the Aguilar part, I liked what I've seen. I didn't get to watch a ton of that Syracuse game just because of it was kicking off right around the time Marshall. We were watching Georgia play Marshall, but thought he had some really good throws. Hit a really nice deep post. I think that wound up being a touchdown against Syracuse. I've been pleasantly surprised, and I think that it's, to me, this is a ton. Josh Heupel deserves a ton of credit here, and I think that you see his background as a quarterback and his ability. I think we forget, or take for granted that Joey Aguilar, he was a guy that joined in the summer. I mean, he was essentially the back end of a trade with UCLA.
He was.
Nico comes to town and he says, all right, I got to go. I like what I've seen. I think that Josh does a very good job with his quarterbacks of putting them in position to succeed. Hendon Hooker, Joe Milton, Nico, I think, had his moments, and I think people were excited about another year of him in the offense had he stuck around. So I think he's very capable of beating Georgia. But the one thing I'll say, what makes Tennessee so dangerous is, they can kind of hit those little 6-7 yard gains and then all of a sudden strike one for 45. Georgia traditionally has been very good at limiting those explosives. That's a big reason why if I had to make a pick right now, I'd pick Georgia, not so much because I have the faith in the Georgia defense. I mean, the offense. I have the faith in the defense. I think they know how to play a Heupel offense and that they can shut those guys down enough to leave Knoxville with a win.
And you've talked so much in the summer about the improvements in the receiver room with Noah Thomas and Zachariah Branch from Southern Cal and Thomas from A&M. The thing that caught me in the first game, even though it was Marshall, when you get those yards after contact, or you throw basically almost in the backfield in those 2 catches for Zachariah Branch in game 1, resulted in about 90 positive yards. Talk about what that does to the rest of the team. I think it really gets them fired up.
I think it just is sort of like a sigh of relief knowing you've got that guy to go to. Now, the thing to keep in mind was that was against Marshall. I don't know how much running room they're going to have against Tennessee in a situation like that, but I think they are in a good spot as far as their receivers and the rotations they can work with. I mean, I'll shout out Talon Taylor, a true freshman. He's gotten pretty early run in both of these games, which I think is pretty impressive given how much experience they've got at wide receiver. But having Zachariah Branch, Noah Thomas, Colby Young, London Humphreys, Dylan Bell, and then throwing in Talon Taylor, maybe we'll see some of CJ Wiley, another true freshman. They have done a very good job of stocking this room. And I think about 2022, one thing that I was really impressed with by that offense, they were able to rotate receiver pretty regularly. And, when you do that, you're not going to have, it's going to be hard to get a 1,000-yard receiver. I think Zachariah Branch is definitely the one in the best position to get there. But I just think that they are in a good spot as far as the number of different guys they can get involved. And that's not even to talk about the tight ends who I'm interested in watching on Saturday. They didn't have any catches against Austin Peay. I don't see that being the same situation against Tennessee, especially last year. Oscar Delp had 2 touchdowns against Tennessee, so I'll be watching to see if Delp can produce again.
And you think about this too. Georgia plays. You go to Lexington, whatever it is. Brad White. The last 3 games, Georgia scored 15, 16, and 13. That guy's, I guess, undervalued. But Tennessee is a place where Georgia does really well. And I look at Kirby and this staff. The one constant is just get after your ass for the full 60. And I don't know why everybody else doesn't do it, but, Dave Bartu says the last 15 years, number 1 defensive coordinator in the country is Kirby Smart. So on the offensive side, Mike Bobo that guy gets hammered a lot. What about the job that he's doing and Gunner in the first 2 games? Because one thing about him is, who the quarterback is for Georgia. He is the absolute leader of that team. And Jacques Doucet is on here from Channel 9 in Baton Rouge. And so before you go, just kind of give us your thoughts on that. And in this quarterback battle, Gunner doesn't get scared.
No, I think that this is kind of a proven ground for Gunner Stockton and Mike Bobo alike. I mean, the offense in week 2, I think, was unsatisfactory. They just couldn't create any explosive passes downfield. I think it was a situation where if they started the game kind of just taking what Austin Peay would give them, they played a lot of off man, and I think they said, look, our guys are better than your guys. We'll just throw it out here and let them make a play. But just seemed like Gunner Stockton was hesitant, wasn't willing to try to make some of those deep throws even when they presented themselves. So, I think that Mike Bobo and Gunner Stockton have a lot to prove. I think they're capable, but it's not going to be easy. So we'll see on Saturday. Excited to get over there. Appreciate you guys having me on, and excited to get into week 3.
All right, let them know how they can follow you. You put out lots of great. You and Jacques are 2 of the most active people on Twix, Twitter, whatever you call it. But I mean, it's like a nonstop newspaper. I mean, it's better than a newspaper because it's immediate. But tell them how they can follow you. And as always, thank you so much for your time.
You bet. Dogs247.com on Twitter, at Jordan Davis Hill on Twitter, at Dogs247. Go follow the Junkyard Dogcast. That's our podcast where we get your podcast. We'll be recording live 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, wrapping up Austin Peay and turning the attention to Tennessee. So just glad to be back in the SEC week. Those first 2 games, that was kind of an appetizer if you're following Georgia. This is the main course, and this is a big one.
I mean, it's fun for you because I know so many of your family members are Tennessee fans as well as Georgia. So it'll.
Oh yeah, I think there's going to be some folks that aren't talking to me. Really one way or the other. Sunday there'll probably be some hard feelings, but we'll make it work.
All right, thank you. Have a great week. Be careful.
All right, see you guys.
Jacques Doucet, WAFB Channel 9, 2-time Louisiana Sportscaster of the Year. I'm waiting for number 3, another Emmy. One of the best sets of anybody we have. You and Jordan back to back, I would say, are 2 of the guys that I mean, you drill down local. You cannot do better than what you're doing, Jacques. And let's get your thoughts on, first off, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. We were running a few minutes behind. That's my fault. But LSU, Louisiana Tech, they only won 23-0. They won on the road at Clemson. Is this sort of the calm before the storm? Because the Gators, we all know what happened there. They're going to come in matter and a bunch of wet hens. LSU's been getting criticism probably because they didn't score enough. What do you think happens Saturday?
Yeah, well, it was 23-7. It was LSU was favored by, I think, 37, 38 points over Louisiana Tech. And after LSU had the thrilling win at Clemson in week 1, in which they scored 17 points, you were kind of hoping that the offense would open it up, score a lot of points against Louisiana Tech. That didn't happen. They only scored a couple of touchdowns, and you were thinking, well, the positive will be they pitched a shutout on defense, and then late in the game they had a bust in the secondary, and Louisiana Tech threw a long touchdown. So it was not an exciting game. It was pretty boring. It brought back kind of memories of Les Miles and sometimes how he would win those games in which LSU was a huge favorite. They would just kind of, plod their way through it, not get a chance to play the backups, and then say, oh, well, we won. What are you complaining about? Yeah. So, these days, these games are getting more and more difficult to play. I think that in the old days, you could get away with playing these games. Now, I think fans just are more and more demanding, and they're paying more and more money, and they don't like to see these games even against in-state teams. And look, Louisiana Tech's no pushover. They go to bowl games on a pretty regular basis. They've sent their share of guys to the NFL, and LSU's 2 top coordinators both coached at Louisiana Tech for a long time, and offensive coordinator Joe Sloan and defensive coordinator Blake Baker. So it's not to put down Louisiana Tech, but it was not a exciting evening in Tiger Stadium. And you play those games, and there's kind of a no-win situation. You blow them out, you're supposed to. You don't blow them out. You played poorly. So as your co-host knows, in South Florida, I think is a much better team than Louisiana Tech, but at least LSU didn't lose. And so, Billy Napier has gone from hot seat, pulling himself back from the hot seat, number 13 in the country, to now hearing the rumblings again after getting beat at the gun on a field goal and having one of his players spit on a South Florida guy for a 15-yard on the final drive there. So I think Brian Kelly's right, though. I think LSU will get the best Florida team they can get this weekend, and it'll be a very difficult game for LSU to win.
And Garrett Nussmeier, my son Wilson, for 2 years has been telling me, Dad, he's the best quarterback in America. He loves the guy. And he's a coach's son. He's stacking up the starts. I think he'll be a successful quarterback on the next level. What about the running game? And what about Florida will keep you up at night?
Well, the LSU rushing attack just has not – well, this past week, they ran for 129 against Louisiana Tech. Now, 48 of that came on a wide receiver play to Xavier Thomas. They gave the ball to him. And, look, it's a rushing play. It counts, but it was 48 yards. And then late in the game in the fourth quarter, Harlan Berry, the true freshman, he got in and had a real exciting zigzag run for 43 yards. So that's 91 of your 129. And, late in the game, LSU's on the 5-yard line. They've still got their first-team offense in. Nussmeier and company, they're trying to punch it in, and they can't punch it in. They're kicking an 18-yard field goal, like with a minute or two left against Louisiana Tech. And so that's not what you're looking for there. So, and their center, LSU center, Braylon Moore, who they picked up from Virginia Tech in the offseason, who I think they thought was going to be a big part of and was a big part of what they're doing. They had a young guy named DJ Chester, still have him. He played center for a big portion of last year. I think he was a little bit in over his head. So they get this guy, this veteran, and he gets hurt on the first play of the game, what they think is a high ankle sprain, maybe not high ankle sprain, doesn't need the tightrope surgery, whatever it is. So he goes out. So that kind of threw them off. But last year LSU went to Florida, and I realized the rosters flip over a lot, but it was the middle of November, and I think they sacked Garrett Nussmeier 6 times, and they had 11 tackles for loss. So LSU had 1 touchdown against Florida last year in the Swamp, and they kicked 3 field goals, if I'm not mistaken. So it's kind of back to the red zone stuff. Can they score in the red zone? And, Florida didn't score many points in their game, obviously, against South Florida, and they played Long Island the first week. So, what do we have here? I'm not quite sure. I do think Florida appears to have a pretty salty defense, and LSU needs some more balance and need to score in the red zone.
And Jack Pyburn goes from Florida to LSU. And so your thoughts on there's 3 Weeks brothers from Watkinsville, Georgia. Their dad played at Georgia with Kirby Smart and Will Muschamp. But Whit Weeks wasn't the leading tackler. It was his brother. And then Harold Perkins. There's just some guys that you just cheer for because, he came out as a freshman on fire. And then he got moved to a different position. And the guy. I don't. I've been around him a few times. I love guys like that. He just perseveres, hangs in there, and finds excuses to win. He wears the number 7 this year, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's worn it the last 2 years. He had it last year, and then I think he got injured in the 5th game of the year.
Yeah, that's right.
Injury against UCLA, non-conference game in Tiger Stadium.
Yeah.
But 7 has always been known as an electric playmaker, although Will Campbell got the number. He couldn't wear it in a game because he was an offensive lineman. But
you see that number 7 as a tackle.
Yeah, that looks funny. I think he had like a patch or something. But
okay.
7 is always, well, I say always. It's a fairly new tradition. It has gone to an electric playmaker. Started with Patrick Peterson, Tyrann Mathieu, Leonard Fournette, Derek Stingley Jr. On down the line, and so DJ Chark was a more recent one also. So Harold Perkins had the major knee injury, and he has flown around the field. Looks like they got him in the right spot, and certainly. For those who watch the LSU Clemson game, Clemson's last 4th down on offense, Cade Klubnik rolls right, and Harold Perkins feels like he's 50 yards away, and within a blink of an eye, Harold Perkins closes that gap and is drilling Cade Klubnik, who throws it away, and the game's over. So he's just got speed and quickness, and that is pretty very impressive.
Well, he's 6'1", 215, they edge rushers on the matrix, they want him to be 6'4", 6'5". He's just a playmaker. And with Weeks out there, is this the best linebacking core that LSU's had in recent memory? I mean, you're an LSU historian and you speak Cajun French.
Your
dad does.
Yeah. My dad said he went to France one time and they told him, "Oh, you speak that broken up, nasty Cajun French. They won't be able to understand you." And he goes over there and he said they thought I was from Versailles. So that was BS. I can speak French anywhere. Yeah. But no, I have to think back, but certainly defense has not been what LSU's hung their hat on in recent years. I mean, certainly during the Les Miles era, they did 2 of 3 things very well. They played defense and they were able to run the football. But then when it came to, throwing the ball for a large portion of the time, they were stuck in the Stone Ages. And that's what always cost them against Alabama. They'd hold Alabama to 10 or 15 or 20 points, but they couldn't score more than 13, 14. Yeah. So, but now these 2 guys, Whit Weeks, Harold Perkins, the LSU fans, they say they're the best linebacker combo in the country. I'm not familiar with my linebacker combos across the country, but even the 2019 national championship team, I'm trying to think who were the linebackers on that team. That team was predicated on offense, and I think they're the best combo in a long time. And West, as you just mentioned, number 33, he hasn't really gotten his due. People thought he was an okay player because Whit was so good and has this outgoing personality, does interviews and got the blonde hair and all that. Yeah. But West has become a very good football player also. And as far as getting all 3 of them on the field, maybe there's a case in a blowout scenario where they don't burn Zach's red shirt, who's a freshman. Maybe they can get all 3 on the field, get their picture taken.
That would be cool. Well, that's what Weeks said at Media Days. Somebody asked him about NIL and stuff. He said, "No, sir." He said, we're talking ball, man. He goes, we play football. That right there, just endears you to him. All right. So the LSU problems that were there last year, kind of give us a report card up to this point, how much progress they've made fixing. Number 1 was winning week 1.
Yeah. And real quick, sometimes some of those local companies ask the local media guys, "Hey, can you ask about that NIL deal that such and such did. And
Yeah.
sometimes you say, hey, look, you and your brother took that picture for that sports drink. Didn't that look great?
Yeah.
We're here to play ball, sir. So in
Yeah.
the interview, I guess just like a pro athlete, sometimes there's a goofy commercial running all the time, and they don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
So it's the old, and then they say, well, if you spend more time on football and less on commercials, he went and he did that 10 minutes and he left, and it plays all the time. Like they think that's in real time, the commercial. Anyway, I think LSU scored 4 touchdowns in their first 2 offensive games and total. And so they want to improve that, obviously. And offensive line, I think they've done a decent job pass protecting, but running the football, they just haven't really been able to, in the more conventional sense, turn around, hand the ball to running back and get 5 yards. Defensively, they're great. I mean, that has been the story of the team, is how much the defense has improved. They've given up 2 touchdowns total in the first 2 games, and one was a late bust. So really, they've only given up 1 methodical drive in 2 games. And so I know DJ Lagway is an outstanding young quarterback, but I saw he only threw 1 touchdown pass last week. So this could be a low scoring grinder. I'm not sure, but it'll be a night game in Tiger Stadium. I expect Tiger Stadium to be full, to be loud, and to be Tiger Stadium, so to speak. Last week against Louisiana Tech, obviously, even in the home opener, it was not magical. But I wish the weather would stay like it is this morning. It's wonderful outside, but I think we're going back to August this weekend. How it's going to feel?
Yeah, I think it's in the low 50s up here in Memphis this morning. It's going to be upper 90s to 100 by the weekend, just in time for people to sit out on a dove stool and just burn alive.
Well, Brian Kelly had some fun yesterday with himself. He kind of poked fun at himself because last year when LSU lost to USC in the season opener, he drew all that attention. Where here we are again, and he banged his foot, his fist on the podium. Well, after the Louisiana Tech game the other night, he was like, and our guys, they want to do it, and he kind of pump faked it, and so then he kind of joked about that. Well, and then my weather guy, he was pretty funny. He goes, we got this great weather this morning, but this weekend we're going to be in the 90s again. Here we are again in the 90s. So that was pretty funny.
I love that. Well, I mean, self-deprecation. That is a Scotch-Irish tradition. We got to make fun of ourselves. God made whiskey so the Irish wouldn't rule the world. I saw that bumper sticker. You got to laugh at ourselves, man. Don't take ourselves too seriously. Oh, Brian Kelly, you're around him a decent amount. You do some great interviews, one-on-one, WAFB Channel 9. How comfortable is he at LSU? I know he likes wine. I saw any given Saturday. Should have had Al Pacino over for a drink of wine with him.
Yeah, I've watched 6 of the 7 episodes of that Netflix SEC. Where they took it was from the 2024 season, but Coach Kelly has been an interesting fit here. He kind of emits kind of class. He dresses up, wears sports coats a lot. I think he's definitely lost some weight from the guy that we knew at Notre Dame. I think he's been more humorous and approachable than perhaps we thought that he was. He's still kind of a quirky fit with Cajun people and everything, but every successful coach at LSU outside of Coach O was pretty much not from here, and that is a thing that's really not all that necessary. Whether you're talking about Dale Brown from South Dakota or North Dakota, wherever he's from, Skip Burtman from Miami, a Jewish guy coming to Baton Rouge. Nick Saban had guys wearing mock turtlenecks left and right because he started wearing them when he was coaching at LSU. So, I think that Coach Kelly this year, I am sensing a lot more kind of, we need to do it this year from him. There's a lot more kind of urgency, intensity. I kind of always kind of questioned how much urgency and intensity and pressure is on a guy whose contract is 90% guaranteed for 10 years at $10 million a year. I mean, he's going to get his money no matter what. But, he's getting into his 60s now. I think he'd like to coach until what Saban coached to in his early 70s. And certainly he wants a national title at this level. So I know that he senses, look, we invested at least $18 million into this roster. We put a lot of money to get these guys, especially on the defensive side of the ball. We've got to make a playoff this year. Going back to a mid-major bowl like a Music City or a Texas Bowl or a Gator Bowl or all that, that's not going to cut it. So you sense that in the press conferences and whatnot. He did say at his Monday press conference that he was happier with the win over Louisiana Tech than he was right after it happened. He said, we need to change press conferences. We need to have them on Monday night right after the game. And I'm thinking it's kind of like what they used to say about writing letters. Never write an angry letter. Go to bed, sleep on it, and then the next day write the letter. Maybe we should wait a little while. So
well, I mean, it's this game's going to be great Saturday down in Baton Rouge. Jacques, tell people how they can follow you, keep up with you, and as always, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. It means the world to our audience and to Brendan and me and everybody in the free world.
Oh, no problem. There's my name on the screen. Look me up on X, Twitter, and our WAFB YouTube page. We're uploading content all the time. I got a Jacques Talk today with Gordy Rush, who's been part of the LSU broadcast team for decades, was a player at LSU in the late 80s. We're going to talk some LSU football and get that uploaded probably today. We got our high school football show we do on Fridays, Sportsline Friday night. We do 50 minutes of high school football highlights that you can live stream at WAFB.com, 10:10 p.m. on Friday nights. Or you can watch it after the fact on our YouTube page or WAFB.com as well. We cover the Southern Jags, New Orleans Saints, all that stuff. We've got a lot going on here in Baton Rouge.
And Nick, look, you cannot beat local, man. You're one of the best. Thank you so much.
All right, brother. Good seeing you.
All right, you bet. You too. All right, Brendan, I don't know if we want to play those sound bites before Yancy comes on with Mac Browne last night from the Touchdown Club. So you just decide when you want to bring those in because Coach Browne has one of the best speeches I have ever heard. What he talked about his career as a coach and the state of college football right now and things that we can be doing. So great stuff. Yancy Porter, Rebel Yell Hot.
Talking with Coach Mac Browne, Touchdown Club in Memphis. Coach, you retired for now. Hopefully you'll come back from college football. But what do you see happening? And you mentioned a minute ago, you'd like to know who is in charge of college football.
What I've learned in my life, Rob, is that you've got to be aligned. You got to have a strategic plan, and you got to have enough people on the same page with that alignment to put it forward. And right now, I'm not sure what that means. I don't know who's in charge. We need to get commissioners. We need to get presidents. We need to get top coaches. We need to get athletic directors. We need to get Congress. We got to get NCAA. We got to get everybody in the same room and think about what's best for our wonderful game, what's best for the kids that play it, what's best for the parents, but also what's best for the fans.
Yeah.
Because right now we're not sustainable with what we're doing, and it's sure not fair to so many schools that don't have that money and are so stretched right now trying to be somebody that they probably can't be over time. And that's what we got to do. We got to get back on track and make sure that we've got the game going in the right direction.
Coach, also you spent 16 of the best years of your life in Austin at Texas. The Longhorns being in the league, your thoughts about that and how high is high enough for their fan base?
Well, you got to win all the games. And after we won the national championship, Coach Royal said, the good news is you won the national championship and very few people get to.
Yeah.
The bad news is now they're going to expect it every year. And we had another couple of close calls, but we never got back to it. But the 16 years at Texas was wonderful. Sally said you stayed 4 presidential terms, and that's a long time. But Texas is among that group of 4 or 5 best jobs in the country. Mm-hmm. They're passionate, they have money, they have wonderful facilities. The high school football in that state's unbelievable, and most of those guys want to come to Texas. And now with NIL, you can even pay the parents to come from out of state.
Yep.
So it lets Texas be a national recruiting base instead of like it was when we were there and pretty much in state.
I tell you, Yancy, he was one of the best speeches I've ever heard last night. Absolutely loves every one of the players and coaches he's had with him throughout his career. Just reminds you why we love college football. Like you, Yancy Porter, Rebel Yell Hotline, catch him Monday nights, 6 p.m. Central on Sports 56 WHBQ in Memphis and Super Talk Mississippi all over the great state. And Yancy, Rebels got the win. It was better than last year against Kentucky. I don't know what Brad White's deal is. He seems to really know how to defend against Lane Kiffin, but you won, didn't cover, as Lane Kiffin let us know. And I mean, I told my son that's a sucker bet, -8.5.
Hey.
I didn't like it, but they didn't cover. Like nobody was paying attention. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I thought that was that was
was.
hilarious. You know, man, I know a lot of Ole Miss people now are like, hey, if Blaine's got my bat, I'm gonna put my hard-earned
Right.
money on him. So it all started when they kicked the field goal to go up 10 points. And there was a roughing the kicker call, and they could have accepted the penalty and taken the 3 points off and nailed the ball to win by 7. And he took the
Yeah.
points to go up 10. And then obviously they gave up the 45-yard pass with 12 seconds left, and Kentucky kicks the field goal to recover the line for Kentucky. And I think Lane was a little bit of shot there.
And Rodney Orr Tider Insider, folks, it's only $48 a year. Cost is only an issue in the absence of any added value. You know what I just said? You cannot beat it. $48 a year. Jumping here with Yancy Porter. This is dueling geniuses right here. And Rodney, much better outcome. It was Louisiana Monroe, but 73-0. Hadn't seen that in a while. Everything's okay now, correct?
Well, you know, it's funny. I've never seen so much excitement over a win over La Monroe, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing, though, Rob, Yancy, and I know you guys understand this, that, you know, this game really just served as a baby step. You know, when you lose like Alabama did in the opener against Florida State, you need to come back. You need to play well. You need to play with energy. You need to play with passion. And frankly, when I got into the press box Saturday night, it was like a lifeless stadium. And then all of a sudden, the team came out and played with so much passion and energy. And again, it's opponent aside, they came out and played with passion and energy. We've seen many times when Alabama's had these kind of games when it was just ho-hum. But they came out with what they needed to have and do. And it was a lot of excitement. But at the same time, you know, you have to keep that into perspective. And I think it is a baby step in the right direction. Now they're going to have an opportunity to take another step here against Wisconsin on this Saturday. And then they have the open date. And we'll find out a lot more the following weekend against Georgia.
Yeah. And no doubt about it, Yancy, the game with Wisconsin will be big. Ole Miss has got a big one with Arkansas coming in. Now, look, they've played Alabama, A&M, and Arkansas State in the first 2 games, but Taylon Green's going to present some problems. Your thoughts on this showdown at the Vault Saturday?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a much better game than what we saw last year, right?
Yeah.
You know, Green he'll expose you your defense and any kind of mistakes they made. We saw last week with Ole Miss, the defensive ends were crashing down, not holding outside containment, and that really hurt Ole Miss some there in their fits in the run game. And they're going to have to shore that up, along with Alton Simmons, right? I mean,
We got R2-D2 here from Star Wars. Yancy, can you hear us? Yancy, we've lost you there for a second. You may want to reboot or something so we can hear you, but is it better now? Yeah, he'll come back. I'm anxious to see all these games, Rodney. But going back to Alabama before Yancy rejoins us, coming out and playing the way they did with their hair on fire, obviously the coaches, they're not immune to the comments out there in social media and everywhere like that. But when you watch Yancy, I'll come back to you. I'm going to ask this question to Rodney. When you watch that game Saturday, 73-0, Now you've got Wisconsin coming to town. They'll present challenges. My preseason pick was Georgia versus Alabama for the SEC championship at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So I have to stick by that. I bet a steamer pack of crystals and a box of fluorescent bulbs and some sponges on that. So I got to.
Well, I mean, I think anything can happen. I mean, I do. I believe it's wide open. There's, probably 6 or more teams that could potentially end up in Atlanta. I mean, it would not surprise me. This is good. This is a week to week deal now. There's parity, probably more than ever now, it seems, with the NIL, the portal, all those things have created that.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I think Rob, it's unpredictable. It really is about how this is going to. You used to have a pretty good idea. Okay, these two teams are going to be in it, but we just don't know. So, with that said, I mean, I just think as far as Alabama goes, you mentioned the Wisconsin game.
Yeah.
It's interesting. They've really beefed up their defensive line. Rob, in 2 games, they've given up a total of 67 yards rushing. Wisconsin has. They've got 8 sacks. They're playing really well defensively. They've given up 10 points in 2 games. Now, offensively, the quarterback came off the bench in the first game, Danny O'Neal. And this last game was his first start. He set the Wisconsin record for a first-time starter, 283 yards passing. He was 23 of 27, 3 touchdowns. So you never know. I mean, I think that Alabama certainly is not in a position to take anyone for granted, for sure.
Yeah, and Yancy, I agree with Rodney. I mean, in this day and age, you better appreciate any win. I did the math, the Gazendas last night. 3,400 plus kids transferred from one school to another from where they were this time last year. Some P4 to P4, some P4 to Group of 5, and some down to Division II, and some from D2 or Group of 5 up to P4. But that's a lot of that's musical chairs, Yancy. Knowing your opponent's not as easy. Knowing the depth chart and the roster and all that kind of stuff. You look at this Ole Miss team. What are they doing right now really well, and what are they not doing well?
What are they doing really well? I don't know if there's anything you can say that they're just pinpoint doing really well.
Yeah.
I think, Simmons is just, it's the growing pains with the
Yeah.
19-year-old quarterback. As I said before, he's got a lot of maturing to do.
Yeah.
Not off the field, just on the field, right? Just getting reps and experience and live bullets. And, I think going through preseason camp where you don't hit the quarterback, it kind of hurts. It kind of hurts when you get in the season with these new quarterbacks.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt someone like a Jackson Dart if you got 3 years experience, but it does with the new quarterbacks. But you don't want to risk that injury either.
Yeah.
I think Lacey is kind of their bell cow right now on offense. He's more dynamic than anybody expected there at running back, the transfer from Missouri. What they're not doing well right now, that again, the young defensive ends is just so much inexperience on this Ole Miss team. You got 2 transfer defensive ends that were just getting their feet wet when they came to Ole Miss, Womack and Princewell from Nebraska and LSU, and they've got to learn how to hold outside containment. Don't bite on the RPO down the middle when the quarterback or running back then sweeps it on the outside. They're diving down the inside, and it's allowing outside containment there on the run. So those are schematic things that they can just continue to work on. I think this Ole Miss team will get better and better as the season progresses. So if you want to get Ole Miss, you need to get them right now.
Yeah, repetition is the mother of all skill. Rodney, you look at Ty Simpson in the Florida State game. He was playing through everything. He never stopped. I got to ask you about the offensive line. When Braden Roberts was out for a while on concussion protocol before the Florida State game. Again, I'm not a coach, but he missed a lot of valuable reps in practice and all, just game shape. How talented is this offensive line? We know 4 of them can bench press over 500 pounds, but they're not tackling, barbells and dumbbells. They're chasing live people. But the offensive line, there's a lot of talent there. But, you look at Caden Proctor. Does he struggle? Do you see what I see? He struggles with those speed edge rushers trying to contain those guys. He's a ginormous guy, but, nothing's perfect.
I wonder if he'll probably end up offensive on the next level.
Okay.
I mean, I guess that's possible. Maybe he should be a guard here, Rob.
Yeah.
I don't know, but no, I think the offensive line, certainly, as you said, with Parker Brailsford at center, I think he's the most consistent player they have. I thought Cam Dewberry made some improvement at left guard in this last game. Played some at right guard, Jaden Roberts, but Gino Vandermark's done a nice job there, I think, filling in a little bit. And I think Wilkin, he's continuing to develop. I mean, he's just even though Wilkin is a redshirt sophomore, he just came in so underdeveloped because of I don't think it happened in high school for him, and I just think that he's still developing. But Michael Carroll, the true freshman, played a lot at right tackle as well. He's a guy that they think is going to be a superstar. Watch out for number 64. And also, I'll say the same thing for number 78, Jackson Lloyd, another true freshman. Rob, I'm going to tell you guys, looking at it, 2017, I said that was the best offensive talent I had ever seen recruited at Alabama. There was Tua, there was Ruggs, there was Judy, there was Najee Harris, there was Alex Leatherwood. There were, a lot of impressive offensive players. They had 6 freshmen in the game in the fourth quarter against Georgia for the national championship on that side of the ball. Think about that. Wow. They played 6 freshmen in that game. I always said Alabama's freshman team beat Georgia for the national championship. But listen, here's what I'm saying. Jackson Lloyd, Michael Carroll, A.K. Deere had a big run, had a 56-yard touchdown run. Keelan Russell is the real deal. He's got so much potential. Latsir Brooks, wide receiver. He's man, I'm telling you, Ryan Williams, you better get healthy in a hurry because Latsir Brooks is the real deal. So you got a lot of this. This might be. I'm not going to say it's that level to that group's level, but it's. They've done a fantastic job of getting this talent in here.
Yeah, and my man Johnny Haygood, I was fishing with him. He's from Eufaula, Barber County. Johnny talks about Yancy Pierre from Eufaula.
Yep, Yancy Pierre. He had a good game.
Yeah, okay. So you got to give a shout out to Johnny Haygood.
He's an outside backer. He's got a lot of speed. Listen, I still think the defensive side of the ball is a question for Alabama. Really, big time. Kane Womack, I thought he was really honest in his assessment yesterday. So for that, I really admire his honesty. He said, the execution was not good. They had 12 quarterback pressures and 0 sacks. I mean, the technique, whatever it is, rushing the passer, the angles are really bad. We said that on Sunday and Monday, Rob, on TiderInsider.com, and we had people get upset about it. But it was really nice to hear Kane Womack come out and say basically the same thing yesterday.
Well, you are the canary in the coal mine when it comes to covering Alabama. Rodney Orr, Tider Insider, only $48 a year. He sees things that you don't. Yancy, kind of break down like what Rodney just did about this Ole Miss football team. And, it's a line of scrimmage league, Yancy. And you do such a great job of, hey, they've got 9 they can trust on the defensive line. I want to ask you about the Ole Miss wide receivers. It doesn't matter. These guys, that you've never heard of them. And then bam, they're just catching 50, 60 passes in a season. And you're like, either first, second, third round draft picks. And who's the secret, recipe for developing these receivers that Ole Miss has? Because I know LSU's put a ton in Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, but Ole Miss has got to be in the top 5 or 6 putting guys in the league.
Yeah, and a lot of it is just having an eye for evaluating players that fit your system. And
We got R2D2 back. Yancy, can you hear us? Okay. Yeah. Got a Blue Jay on the line or something. But Rodney, I hope we can get that worked out with Yancy. But
Well, I'll say this in Yancey's stead. I think it's a lot of it's Lane Kiffin. I mean, I just think he's so good with skilled people. I mean, you see what he did in 2014 here at Alabama with Blake Sims and the way he utilized Amari Cooper, like 124 receptions that year, I think it was.
Yes.
126, whatever. But it's Lane Kiffin. I mean, the guy's an offensive guru.
Yeah.
And he knows how to utilize wide receivers. Like Yancey said, his evaluation of receivers, backs, skill people, it's pretty high level.
Yeah. Yancey, you back with us. I concur with Dr. Orr about Lane Kiffin's offensive prowess, genius, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I apologize if you can't hear me well today.
We got you. We got you good now.
Not at the office, trying to make money, actually.
I know.
But no,
that's what I'm saying. I'm not mad. I'm just saying we love hearing you.
Yeah, it's Lane's ability to evaluate the right receivers, right? I mean, you bring in Wallace from Penn State. He's a 1,000-yard receiver there, but he really wasn't in an offense. He thought that was going to showcase his skill set for the NFL. He had 1 year left, so he comes on over. And then you get guys like Deuce Alexander from Wake Forest that nobody knows about. Wake Forest was a terrible team last year, and he's ended up being one of the best pickups they've had in the portal for, what was it, 58 guys that they picked up out of the portal. So, whether it's established receivers, whether it's guys that people don't know very little about, whether it's a Caden Lee coming out of high school that, could end up being a top NFL pick coming up in next year's class. He just has an eye for receivers for sure.
Yeah. Look, we've got about 6-7 minutes left. I want to bounce around with both of y'all, and I've got two smart guys on here. The league this year compared to last year, and we'll be quick on these answers. Rodney, is the league stronger top to bottom this year, SEC football this year versus last year, or is it a jump ball? Yancy, you answer that question.
It's without question, it's stronger. I mean, where's the bottom, right? There is no bottom. I mean, you look at programs like Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, Missouri, South Carolina, traditionally weak football programs that are really formidable right now. I mean, we'll see about State, but I mean, State played really well Saturday. Last year, you had 3 or 4 teams that you felt like you could circle a W unless you really mess things up before you played them. And this year, I don't see that. Even Kentucky, who might be the worst team in the SEC this year, they're physical. I mean, they played a very physical game against Ole Miss. I don't think you'll find a better tandem of linebackers than what Kentucky had on the field Saturday. If they can stay healthy, Kentucky will surprise some folks. I mean, there is no bottom to the league this year.
Yeah. Rodney, same thing. SEC football this year, top to bottom, is it better than last year, the same, or not as good?
Well, like I said, I just think the parity has set in, and kind of like what Yancey was saying. I said 6 teams, 8 teams, whatever the number is. It wouldn't surprise me who ends up in Atlanta. It really wouldn't. I mean, I just think the parity is there, and you have to be ready week to week to week. It's a grind, and that was the one thing last year that we pinpointed about Kalen DeBoer. You asked what did they need to do better? You asked that a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. It's the consistency. It's showing up every single week, ready to play at a high level.
Yeah, I mean, showing up early, bringing effort all the time, that doesn't take talent. That's just an inside,
the mindset. It's a mindset.
Yeah,
that's why Saban was so great. He controlled the minds. I mean, he really did.
It is. You'll hear coaches sometimes say, people will ask, on game day, you got to be tough. No, that's a Monday through Friday, the haze in the barn. And I'm with both of y'all. I like y'all's answers. It is as wide open as I've ever seen. Hey, we all got $1,000.
Guys, I think you could see, I think there's a legitimate chance you can see all 16 teams in a bowl game this year. Now think about that.
Yancey, if that happens, will the Beacon reopen?
because my buddy bought that property and he's making commercial and residential, so that's not going to
All right.
happen. But
Well, then instead go to our friend, down at Bim Bam on Jackson Avenue there in Oxford and get you some burgers. The Bim Bam breakfast they're serving right now.
yeah,
Uh,
that's where a lot of the big crowd went to. Erica does a great job over there.
Erica does, and I know her mom. She made me that SEC map behind me. I feel like the weatherman. I was looking over my shoulder. All right, both of y'all, before you go, Rodney, tell people anything that they're not talking about that you're talking about on your message boards, your forums, and Tider Insider. And as always, thank you so much for sharing your time with us.
Yeah, no, like I said, I think the one thing is, Rob, is not only playing with consistency, but, this is a big game this week, and it's an opportunity for Alabama to take that next step and set themselves up for the open week and then get into SEC play with Georgia.
All right. Yancy, same thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about Simmons settling down at home this week, not getting off to the rough starts. We're still on 2 picks in the first quarter of each of his first 2 games of his career. So just getting off to a good start with Simmons, I think that will tell the tale of the ball game.
Man, it is going to be rocking. I mean, on Wisconsin coming down to Tuscaloosa. It's going to be about 120 degrees in the shade. So Southern football at its best. Both of y'all, we'll see you again next week. Have a blessed day.
Appreciate it, Rob.
You bet. Y'all too. All right, let me say something. We're blessed to have a lot of people watching this show, and thank you more than you know. Share it with your friends. I cannot say enough good things about executive producer Brendan Martin. You have no idea what he does behind the scenes to make this happen. Hey, Pro Athletes Hemp Association, Lights Out Sleep Gummies. 25% off. Use code SIDELINES at checkout, okay? They've also got pain lotions, the eucalyptus, if you've got joint pain or whatever. They work with NFL players. Mike Singletary was the first guy to try these gummies out, and he said they worked. I'm not going to argue with Mike Singletary. Neither is Brendan, nor will Buddy. Order those things. Let them know. They've got the chill, energy, and sleep for night. They work. I promise you. I use them. They work. All right. Also, the great folks at Landers Ford, $500 off for SEC Sidelines audience members. Last night at the Touchdown Club, Kent Ritchie, the whole crew were there. Brad Bellamy, the general manager. They are just great people to work with. There are some corporations, some big businesses in the communities that don't do anything. Landers does everything. They are involved. So many high schools like CBHS, Collierville, Houston High School. Their name is everywhere. They're one of the top 5 in the nation in the sales of expeditions. They've got the Broncos, the Ford Escape sedans, and a service department open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. They'll pick you up, provide round-trip transportation. Ask for Brad Bellamy, the GM. Make it simple. He'll walk you through the process. Nobody will fight harder to get you behind the wheel. If you didn't buy your last vehicle from Landers, you probably paid too much. They ain't kidding. And Hewlett and Dunn, man, I stopped by there yesterday to go see Raven and Charles and Lydia and JM. They've got boxes coming in. They got these new jackets from Pendleton. Wow, do they look good. And they've got women's. They got some stuff that Ariat has. And Audrey got her a nice, good-looking new jacket there. They've got boots, over 7,000 pairs. Filson luggage, Duckhead. The Barber stuff is coming in. They got a 50% off rack inside and outside. They got a Barber proper sweater, as Nigel would call it. Good looking at 50% off. And the leather belts they've got made by the Amish, you cannot get any better. And look, how you fight is how you live. Rumble Boxing, Union and McLean, Midtown Memphis, open every day of the week. 48 boxing bags and the weights, instructors that are elite in what they do. Hey, uses both sides of your brain. Rumble Boxing. To all of our sponsors, we're blessed, and we're working on more. If you want to be a sponsor, contact us. We'd love to have you. We have a growing audience. And look, tonight, Tuesday night, I'll be on with Lauren Meadows, the Lowdown with Lauren Meadows on this channel. There's a lot of content all the time on this channel. Hey, most often we see the face of Christ, at least among us. Go out and help people. Have a blessed day. Share the show. Thanks for watching.